Okay. So in the last session we created interactive ALV report to navigate to more detailed data and displaying in the next level ALV by using subroutine and user command, right? So let's check that functionality. I've added hotspot for the material. So whenever I click on the material, it should select not corresponding purchase orders, but whatever the purchase orders created for this specific material. Okay, it's not displaying because there is no purchase orders for this material. Let me select this RM1CP. There are few purchase orders for this material, right? So we are displaying along with item data. Okay, in the next level ALV, right? We are displaying two levels here. If you want to display third level, set hotspot for any of these columns, these purchase order columns, right? And implement a subroutine here at the end of the program, similar logic with the same logic using these two parameters. Create one more subroutine with a different name. Here we have taken user command, right? Take different name for the subroutine, right? Here we have two parameters, one is ucom and other one is selection list. So ucom contains button action and selection list contains whatever the data that is selected by the user. Okay, we can get that value and we are passing that value here to the next level data selection logic. Okay, and we are selecting the data. Here you can use any logic. You can call a function module, you can call a class method, you can create one more subroutine call here using perform to modularize this data logic, right? Or you can create a include program, whatever you want to, you can create to modularize this business logic. Okay, you can also call a function module to modularize this and build the field catalog for the second level ALV display. Based on the field selection, write the business logic and display the output. Here we can add hotspot for multiple fields also, multiple ALV output columns also. Okay, for example, you can also add hotspot for the order number. What you need to do in the program to handle that, the same subroutine, you need to add one more else if condition, else if field name equal to VBLN. Then what is the functionality you wanted to execute? Here you need to write that functionality. Okay, clear? Is everyone clear?
Yes, sir.
Now I'll implement the second hotspot in the same program. I'll add hotspot for the sales order number, that is order. We are using alias name, right? That's why we have changed it to order. In the select statement, we are using alias names and changing the technical field names to normal names. That's why in the field catalog also you have to use the same name. Instead of creating a new program, I'm applying the same program. ABAP underscore true. Let me check whether the hotspot is displaying for the material number or not. So hotspot is enabled for material number also. Sorry, for sales order number also. Now what is my requirement? Whenever the user select any specific sales order number, it should take them to sales order change screen. Where can we change the sales order?
VA02.
VA02 is to change the sales order. VA01 is to create, 02 is to change, and 03 is to display the sales order. So for this material, what is our functionality? Whenever the user selected any specific material, right, we are displaying one more ALV output in the next level, right, with the more detailed information about that material data, right? Like that we can navigate up to how many levels?
20 levels.
20 levels we can navigate, right? First level to second level to third level, like that. Now what is the other requirement we have? Whenever the user select any specific field or a sales order output, it should take them to sales order change transaction code, right? It should call that specific transaction code. Okay, it's very important interview question as well. How can you call a transaction code and open that specific record whenever user selected that value in the ALV output? Okay, For that, same process, same, create a subroutine, take two input parameters. One is ucom. What is the use of ucom? To identify the user selection.
Capture the user action.
What is the option that is selected by the user? Did he selected back button? Did he click on the ALV output? If user selected the ALV output, ucom will be set to which one? This one
I see one.
and IC1. Okay, that means user selected the ALV output. Now which field that is selected by the user? For that, we use this second structure, selection field structure. So it contains what is the field selected by the user, what is the value of that selection, right? What is the index of that record? Index means if user selected the third record sales order number, index will be 3. You can also read data by index. Okay. So those details we can get it from selection field structure, and you can pass that value as input to the next level data selection. Now, what is our second scenario? It's not to display the ALV output. What is our scenario? We want to call a
Call
transaction
the
code and
transaction.
display that specific sales order value. That can be changed, display. Okay. You can call VA02 or VA03. For that, what you need to do, add one more if condition for this else if here. For this else if, after the functionality, add else if condition on order. Why I am taking as order, not VBLN? Because I've changed the column names using alias name. Okay, that's why I'm referring to that sales order number as order. Okay, now what we need to do, when user selected sales order number, it's not to display the next level ALV output. What we need to do, we need to call a transaction code that can be change the sales order or display the sales order. Let's assume we need to call change sales order, so that user will change the sales order and save it and come back to the ALV report again. What is the statement that we use to call the sales order or any transaction code? You can call by using this call transaction statement. You can call any transaction code. You can call any transaction code, including custom transaction codes. Okay, what is the syntax to call a transaction? Call
Call
transaction, and
transaction.
the transaction code name with single quotes, uppercase, VA02, VA02. Okay, now if we simply write this, let's test this functionality. Not providing any date, so that it will select all the data. Let's assume we selected one sales order number 3. It is calling the transaction code, right? Change sales document. What about the value?
Yes.
It is not populating the value, right? I don't want to see this screen. I don't want to display this screen for the user, so that user need to enter the data again, sales order number. That is additional work, right? There is no use of it. If you simply click on this, if you open the VA02, there is no use of it. What is my requirement? When I click on sales order number 3, it should open VA03 and it should automatically populate the sales order number input. It's 3, right? Like this. And I want to see this screen directly. This is the actual screen where a user can change the sales orders. I don't want to display the initial screen for the user. User should be directly navigated to this sales order change screen, so that user doesn't need to enter the input. What is the sales order number he wanted to change? Whatever the sales order number he selected in the ALV output, that should be automatically opened. Okay, that's what my requirement. For that, what we need to do? Here in the syntax, we need to pass additional value called skip and skip first screen. Okay, skip first screen. But for the first screen, sales order number is input, sales order number input is mandatory. Let's try this now. Select the sales order number. Since I have selected the same sales order number, it is displaying, right? By skipping, let me select a different sales order number, for example 6. Observe now, which sales order it is open?
3 only.
3 only, because there is a concept called memory. There is a concept called memory. The last opened input or last entered value will be saved in the memory. What kind of memory we call it as?
Saving.
SAP memory. Okay, so whatever the value, let's say open any program /o sc38. By default you can see a program name here, right? Yes or no?
Yes, sir.
You entered it last time, it is automatically populating that
Populating.
program name here because this value is saved in the memory. This value is saved in the memory, SAP memory. That's why it is automatically populating that value. Here also, why it is displaying sales order number 3? Because previously we opened this sales order number 3. If you go to VA02, what can you see? You can see
3
3 by default. That means the value is saved in the memory. How this memory concept will work? SAP memory concept will work. Okay, so use a concept called parameter ID to store the value in SAP memory. SAP memory is global, it is global. Okay, any user, even the other user open VA02, by default it will display sales order number 3 because SAP memory is global. Okay, all users can access the same value which is in the SAP memory, and the other user entered a different sales order, the previous value will be overwritten with the new value and new value will be available in the memory. Okay, but how can you get that from where you can read the value or from where you can set the new value? We have a concept called parameter ID. How can you check the parameter ID of a specific field? What is this field?
order.
Order means what is the field name?
Sales. VBL.
Sales.
VBLN. What is the source table?
VBA.
VBAK.
VBAK. What about this? Delivery. What is the
Like
what is the field name?
um,
You don't know. What is the source table? Let's assume we don't know. Okay, how can we find in the screen? In the screen, how can we find what is the technical field name of this screen element and what is the source table of this screen element? Observe carefully, keep the cursor. Let's assume we don't know what is order. We don't know what is order. That can be a sales order, purchase order, delivery order. We don't know. Let's assume we don't know this. How can you find what is the technical field name of this and what is the parameter ID of this and what is the source table of this? Keep the cursor here, press F1, function key F1. It will display this technical settings of that field. Sales document. Okay, it provides some text, but actually what we need to know, technical field name of this screen
Order.
element and also what is the source table and what is the parameter ID. You can see here technical information. When I press F1, this performance assistant screen will be opened. Press on this technical settings, technical documentation. What is the program name? This is the program name. This is the screen number. What is the table name? Source table name
VBAK.
VBAK. What is the field name?
VBLM.
VBLN. This is the search help. Anyway, we didn't discuss about search help. Search help nothing but F4 help. When you press F4, right, it will display by default values, right? So that for that we use search helps. We'll discuss that later. What is the data element? This is the data element. What is the parameter ID?
AUN.
AUN. AUN is the parameter ID for sales order number. Okay. Similarly, if you want to know the technical information of different field, place the cursor, press F1, go to technical details. RV445Z, I think it's a structure, it's not a table. Here it is mentioned as structure, it's not a table. And this is the field name. LFNKD is the field name, and this is the search help, and this is the data element, and this is the parameter ID. What is the parameter ID for this? VL is the parameter ID. Okay. If you want to by default populate any value for the delivery, we need to populate that parameter ID with a specific value. Otherwise, when you enter that value in the screen, it will automatically set that value to the parameter ID. Okay. Now, there is another way of finding parameter IDs. Go to S11. If you want to find parameter ID of sales order number, VBAK. What is our field name we are trying to find? Looks like someone changed the position of the field and data element. It's okay. This is the field. VBLN is the field, and this is the data element, right? VBLN underscore VA is the data element. Double click on the data element. Go to further characteristics. Here you can find the parameter ID assigned for that specific field. Okay. So if the parameter ID is available, then only you can make use of SAP memory. The default values will be populated into SAP memory. Okay. Here, if there is no parameter ID, SAP memory is not going to work for that specific field. For example, let's select this ER name. There is no parameter ID. It is blank in the data element. That means SAP memory is not going to work with this ER date. AVART, double click. There is a parameter ID. AAT is the parameter ID, so that you can make use of SAP memory values. Okay, there are two ways to find the parameter ID. First way is go to the technical information of the screen field, right, and it will display table name, data element, structure, field name, and the corresponding parameter ID. What is the other way? If you know the field name, and if you know the table, open the table and go to the data element level to know what is the parameter ID. Okay, is everyone clear? Parameter ID is not mandatory for all the fields, but it's available for only specific fields. So if the parameter ID is available, you can make use of SAP memory concept to populate the data, default data to the screen fields. Okay. How can we manually populate it? So here, so whenever we open the value or program, it is displaying by default, right? How can you manually populate it in the program? Go back. Let me create a simple program. We have a specific syntax to do that. We have two statements to populate the memory. Set parameter and get parameter. Set parameter and get parameter. What is the use of set parameter? Set parameter is to set the value to SAP memory. Set the value to SAP memory. Set parameter ID, and we need to write for example parameter ID name, PID, parameter ID name, whatever the parameter ID of that particular screen field. Okay, and field, what is the field name? For example VBELN. Okay, What is the parameter ID of sales order number? AUN, right? So this is how you can now set the value. You can set the value for that parameter ID. Okay. Now whatever the value you are passing here, it will populate with that field. Okay. Sorry, not field here, value. For example, LV underscore VBELF. Whatever the value you want to set, you are going to pass here. Okay. That value will be automatically set to SAP memory. Okay. Sorry, not this for set parameter. Okay. Now how to read the parameter, how to read the value which is available in the SAP memory. So I want to know what is the value currently available in SAP memory. How can you read it? Using get parameter. Read the value from SAP memory. Get parameter, parameter ID, whatever the parameter ID you want, and field, and the corresponding field name, whatever the field name we need to use. So when we use this set parameter or get parameter,
We want to populate the default one.
yes, if you want to populate any default value to the screen fields, we use set parameter. If you want to read the default value available in the screen field, which is already available, okay, at the time we use a get parameter ID. Okay, set parameter is to populate the new value, to override the existing value. Get parameter is to read the value which is already available in the screen field. Okay, let's create a simple program to work on set parameter and get parameter, and then we'll implement this in the interactive ALV report. Okay. Now let's create a simple program. Create a program. Now first I'll set some value to the parameter ID. First I'll set some or read the value from parameter ID. Okay. So how to read? What is the statement to read? Get parameter ID, and I want to read what is the current program that is set in SC38 screen field. Okay. For that, what you need to do? What is a prerequisite to implement get parameter ID? We need parameter ID of this, right? The screen field, right? How can you find it? Not only business transaction codes, any screen field you can find, you can apply this SAP memory. I want to find
Okay.
field name for this program. Okay, field name for this program input F4, sorry, not F4, F1. Go to technical information. What is the field name? Program is the field name, and this is the structure. And what is the parameter ID?
RID.
RID. Data element. Go to the data element. Go to further characteristics. You can find same RID parameter ID in the data element also. Now go to the program. What is the parameter ID? We need to use RID and field. And we need to read the value into one variable, right? In the program level. Define one variable. or you can also define using inline declaration data of LV underscore program name. Okay, let's just print that program name. Okay, keep a breakpoint. F5, initially this variable is empty. F5, what is the value it is populated from memory? ZDemo SAP memory. This is the value currently available in program name memory ID. Okay. Now how to set a new value? How to set a new value by overwriting the existing value? What is the syntax we need to use?
Set parameter.
Set parameter ID, same parameter ID, field, and populate the new field name, new name. For example, LV underscore, I'll overwrite the name equal to ZDemo test. I'm populating some new name. Okay, field, I'll pass it here. In the variable, I'm passing a new value. I'm passing that variable name to the set parameter. Now activate. Now again, I'll use this get parameter. You can check the sub RC here. Okay, I'm setting a new value, and again I'm reading the value currently in memory. You can also observe this in screen field. Okay, I don't need to use a data statement here because it is already declared in the previous statement. Okay, we have a new value, set value is set. Now read the parameter ID again. What is the value that is in parameter ID? New value, ZDemo test. Now where can you actually test this? Go to SC38, open SC38. What is the name that is displaying by default? Whatever the value we have updated in the program, right? This one is displaying by default. Let me change it. 1 2 3 4 5 6. Activate it. Updated the name again. Now let me open SC38 again. It is displaying that corresponding name. Okay, like that you can set or read value from any screen fields, not only program name. I just taking it as example. Sales orders, purchase order number, material number, right? Find the parameter ID of that field, pass the parameter ID here, and read the value or set the new value. Okay, you can check the sub RC check before going to implement it. Okay, now let's go back to our ALV interactive report program. Now what is our requirement? We need to open the sales order change transaction code for that specific selected value, right? Now what it is doing, it is just calling the transaction code and skipping the initial screen, but it is not populating the value, right? Whatever the value selected by the user. Now what you need to do here,
Set parameter
you need to
ID.
use set parameter to set the value that is selected by the user. Where can you find the value that is selected by the user? So in the ALV output, user will select a value, right? Where can you find that?
In cell field, selection
Selection
field.
field structure. And value is the field name where you have a value. If you are confusing about this, keep a breakpoint. Keep a breakpoint within the subroutine. Just select any sales order number. Double click on the selection field structure. Check the fields. What is the tab index? Tab index means record position. We selected the 9th record. Okay. This is the value, sales order number value, and this is the field name, sales order number field name. Okay. Now, by make use of these fields, write your subroutine logic. Go back to the program. So when user selected the order number, I want to set parameter. What is the parameter ID of sales order number? If you don't know that, go to VA02 or VA01 or data element level, press, keep the cursor F1, go to technical information. This is the parameter ID. You can also find this in data element level. AUN is the parameter ID for material. Okay. Set parameter ID name AUN. What is the next? Field. Okay. What is the value you need to pass? To set the value, selection field value, whatever the value selected by the user, that is available in selection field structure, and value is the field name. Okay. Clear? Now, whatever the value selected by the user will be set to the parameter ID, and when you call the transaction, that whatever the value you are setting here will be automatically populated to the screen field, and you are skipping the first initial screen, input screen, and it will open the selected sales order number. Keep a breakpoint. Select any sales order. Let's assume 34. It will go to else statement. Looks like subars is failing. No, it's not failing. So it is open sales order number 34 because we are setting that value in the memory. Again, try for another sales order 15. I'll remove the breakpoint. Looks like subars is not working. Okay, subars is not updating. Okay, we need to check. Okay, sales order number 15 is displayed. Don't change anything. Select another sales order. Okay, it is opening the corresponding sales order. So first we are setting the memory. First we are setting the value to the memory here using set parameter ID, and we are calling the transaction by skipping the initial screen, because we are already setting the value, right? It won't ask for the value, right? Because the value will be automatically populated to the sales order number. Okay, is everyone clear? So please practice interactive ALV reports using two options. Okay, second level ALV or third level ALV you can try up to, and also calling the transaction code. It is very important. See, why we use this option? Because it is very convenient for the users. Let's say we select all the sales orders which are ready for delivery, and they wanted to update something here on multiple sales orders. First we display the data in ALV format, and the users can select specific sales order, and they can update any corresponding values in the sales order and come back and update again a different sales order, right? Like that, it is very convenient for them. They don't need to open VA02 again and again, and they need to enter the value. They don't need to enter the sales order number manually. Okay, simply they can click here and update the records or whatever that they want. They can display the sales order data. Okay, it is not specific to sales order. You can use any transaction code. Only thing is you need to understand the functionality. Okay.